I am going to be talking today about pets and pet loss. And it isn't an unusual day for me to do that because this is the day that we lost Steve a year ago today. And Steve was our last Great Dane. And now we have Cheddar left, and he is our last dog. And I had bought this beautiful urn. So my first two Danes, and their paw prints are here, Nola and Morgan, have their own huge, beautiful piece of pottery that I bought. Great Danes are not small. When you cross a Great Dane, if you're going to get their ashes back, their ashes are going to be as much as a human. So like, just to give you for instance, like this is Spectre's box. It is heavy. And it just got to the point where I was like, both Sean and I kind of looked at ourselves and we're like, I like to have their ashes and I like to work with ashes. I work with my mother's ashes and I will work with these dogs' ashes some as well. But I could not keep buying the great big huge urns. And so when Sean and I were we were in Sedona, Jerome, if you've ever been to Jerome in Arizona, they have this beautiful mining town in the up overlooking Sedona. And the last time I was there was these Rigku pottery, which I always buy for the dogs. And Steve was still alive, but I had Spectre's and Major's and Sophie's ashes. And I was thinking ahead going, uh-oh, what am I going to do? So Sean and I decided to pick this piece of pottery, and it has this beautiful dragonfly on it. And Reiku is just a type of pottery that they use, and it almost looks like it's fired. So just a really beautiful memorial piece. And obviously, their ashes are not all going to fit in there. And also, Steve, actually, when he came back, he came in a really beautiful box that I think I'm actually just going to do Mod Podge on this. And I think I'm going to put Steve's paw here. And then Steve has a tree that was actually planted. I looked this up. It's somewhere in Africa. And I didn't feel like I was probably ever going to get to the point where I was going to be able to go visit Steve's tree. But Steve had a tree planted somewhere in Africa for him last year. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I want to talk a little bit as I go through about my feeling about, first of all, about dogs and our life, and also dogs in spirit and how you can connect with them. Sophie, well, let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. 6/2/2020, Spectre has a tree planted for him in my yard as well. Trees are such lovely things to plant for animals. And so if you have an opportunity, go ahead and do something like that, because Steve passed away the end of May. I don't remember exactly which day it comes up for me, but I don't remember exactly which day. This might be harder than I thought. We might not be able to do this on. He might be concrete. There might be more to this. I might have to mortar and pestle him. No, I'm not going to do that. Yesterday we made pigments out of. Does make you wonder. They could have done that in ancient times. Did they use remains for pigments. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Anyway, Spectre was our only AKC registered Dane. So again, like I said, we had 6 Danes. 5 of them were from the rescue. Only one of those, Sophie, was not from the Upper Midwest Great Dane Rescue. All the other Danes were from there. And so Nola, the first one, was a quarter Newfoundland. She had epilepsy. That was crazy to have a Dane with epilepsy. And she passed away before she reached the natural age of a Dane, which is 7. And none of our male dogs reached 7. So we actually had 4 of our 6 Danes that did not live very long. And then we had one that lived to be 13 and actually got let out by someone who was living with us at the time. And she ended up getting hit by a car because it was foggy and got lost. So that was a really hard loss. uh, when we have dogs, pets of any kind, first of all, we are so close to them, right? They are our family. In some cases, they are our children. They are as important to those of us who have pets in our life as humans. And for some people who can't tolerate humans very well, which is totally fine, not easy to tolerate humans, for some people, pets are that important. And so because pets don't live very long, they really teach us a lot about grief. And sometimes I think that the grief that some people might feel at the loss of pets, at least on the onset of it, can be more traumatizing than losing some humans. Not saying all humans, but pets are, it's a very, very real to feel what you're feeling and allow yourself to feel that when you're going through it. So, Nola was very, very hard for us because she was very sudden. And those sudden ones are very difficult. To be honest with you, I didn't have any that weren't sudden. There were a couple that if I looked back, like there were a few of them I had to the vet because they weren't very well and they didn't find anything, but they ended up actually being sick, right? So, and we've had a couple that we've had to put down that just, and then Steve was the only one that died naturally at home from a sickness, and that was the last one a year ago today. And that was, they're all hard, you need to allow yourself time and space to go through that when you're dealing with that, because um there's no right or wrong answer to go through any type of grief, and that includes the loss of a dear loved one. We are facing Cheddar. Cheddar's still walking around here, dude. Cheddar is 14 years old. He is 14 years old. Border collies, I think their average age is 12. So sorry for your losses. Hey. Yes, we don't speak about it. Hi, my love. Mwah, that's my sis. Hi, sister. Yes, I mean, and every single one of them, was so traumatic. Yeah, Spectre ended up, I thought I was bringing Spectre into the vet. This is Spectre. This is, I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to put them in the urn? And I was like, you know what? Why don't you use the ladle that you fed every single one of those dogs with for all those years? And I don't feed cheddar kibble anymore. And so I make his food. And so when I went to get the ladle, the last bag of Steve's food is still in there with a little bit of kibble in it. How crazy is that? So this is actually the ladle that I fed all these Danes with over all of those years. And I'm going to use that to put their ashes in this ladle today and get that done because they've obviously been sitting here until they have turned into concrete. So I'm going to go ahead and ladle. And Spectre, his story was that he had cardiomyopathy and we didn't know it. And when I look at the pictures of him now, I can kind of see like the weight loss was pretty severe. But it's kind of weird, like when you're going through it and they're not really displaying, they don't necessarily display anything in that until the very, very end. And so Spectre was very, very sudden. And he was kind of like my dog. He was kind of an asshole to the other dogs. And so not not everybody was super appreciative of Spectre's behavior. He was beautiful. He was AKC registered mantle colored Dane. So all right. Well, there's a little bit of Spectre. I'm gonna try to put a little bit more of Spectre in here. Yeah, here's Spectre's paw print, by the way. The only one I'm missing right now is Steve, and that's because Steve passed away so recently that I've been doing ritual with his paw print, and it's probably lost downstairs somewhere. I also found these these were sitting with their ashes. This says Great Dane, a regal canine standing proud and tall, a gentle giant that surpasses them all, mighty and powerful, yet sweet at heart, famously friendly, charming and smart, mild manner, and ever clumsy at times, without hesitation in your lap they climb. Elegant but playful is this patient canine, noble in character and presence divine, an affectionate spirit that's loyal. Through this devoted heart beats, through this devoted heart beats solely for you. So, yeah, I had that. Oh, I forgot. I was also going to light this candle. I like to do, so this is a brown candle for those of you who do candle magic ever. When you're doing something like this, it's always a good idea to go ahead and light a candle. This is a chime candle. And it's not going to fan where I wanted it to, of course. Nope, it is. And I'm just going to light this. I was going to light one for every single dog. And I got to thinking all the way back to Joanna. I don't know if you remember Maximilian, but that was our first dog ever. And then if you're still on here, I'm sure you remember Cinder. So Cinder, and then we had Vinny, Captain, and Remy here. They were all springers. And then we had the six Danes, Nola, Morgan, Spectre, no, Nola, Morgan, Sophie, Spectre, Major, Steve. And then in the midst of all of that, before we got Morgan, but after we got Nola, Brandon brought in Cheddar, and I now have Cheddar is now my dog. So, and they have cats and a child. So just a little bit more of Spectre here. Yeah, Spectre was just awesome. I had some really, so Spectre's my spiritual, I was in Mount Shasta actually, and right after I had been to a retreat, I had an encounter with a horse. And horses are known to be very, very magical. Like they can be very shape-shifting energies. They have more chakras than any animal on the planet. And it happens to be a year of the horse this year. Anyway, after that retreat in Mount Shasta, we stayed an extra day with a girlfriend of mine who was staying at an Airbnb there. And there was a horse there that she had connected to. And she brought me out to meet this horse. And I had a connection with this horse where I knew that that horse was Spectre in that moment. Like I just knew it. without unequivocally, without a doubt. And so that is one of the most interesting animals encounters I've had, where that was before my mom passed away. So it was before I wrote the book about that, you know. So it was one of my earliest encounters with animals being able to shapeshift into other animals in order to connect with you in spirit. And that is my very strong belief. Now I'm going to move to Major. Major was the dog that we rescued who was left in a Major was left in a cage to die when somebody was foreclosed on. And so Major didn't live to be very old. And we had to have surgery on him once to remove all the toys that he was eating. It was like a whole 5-gallon bag full of plastic toys. And then Major also ate this couch over here. And he was not 6 when he passed away from cancer. So, and that was very sudden. He got sick and within a week was gone. Same with Steve, got sick within a week, was gone. So my experience is that males don't live very long. That's just been my experience with Danes. Both my females, two of my 3 females lived longer. And again, Nola had epilepsy, and that was very traumatic. I think that probably played a role in her life being a little bit shorter. Nola was the runt of the litter of 13 puppies, and we got her at 4 weeks old, and she had no bite um, inhibition. I have scars from Nola, and she became my shadow. I used to call her shadow dog. Like that was literally like, there are some dogs that are shadow dogs. Cheddar is a shadow dog for me. Nola was very much a shadow dog for me. She taught me a lot about myself, like emotionally. Like you start to like have problems with a dog emotionally, and you realize like you might have some things, right? So like, yeah, because we have a tendency to give animals like human qualities, and um, Merlin has taught me more than any other animal, and he's my cat. Merlin has taught me how to embody animal spirit. And Merlin and I have that connection because I came to Merlin. Merlin was living in the woods, and I spent 13 days in the woods just becoming the cat and connecting to the cat in completely different ways. So Major's story is, yeah, he back to Major. I'm skipping around here, but I'm going to put Major in now. Major's story was it was a pretty quick decline. It's difficult when you have a dog with cancer. They can decline very quickly. And I did end up having him, like I brought him back in order to bring him in. And I had him at the vet, you know, and they didn't find anything. So same with Steve. I just had him at the vet, didn't find anything. I was concerned because I'd seen it before, the cancer before. And sure enough, it was really similar actually to what happened with Major. But yeah, Major was a classic dopey Dane. He would flop his body down, and he literally just sort of taught you presence. Like he was just kind of that bump on a log. He didn't climb up in people's laps, neither would Steve. He was, the rest of them would, but those 2 would never climb up into people's laps. Um, yeah, he was just kind of there, and he and my cat Merlin both have this thing where he would walk up to you, and literally if he wanted you to pet him, he would like, it's like all the muscles in their body are gone, and he would just flop on the floor. And so one of the things when you're doing something like this is to remember those times. And, you know, remember, just like Steve became the horse, or not Steve, Spectre became the horse, Steve became a box elder bug. And box elder bugs I have all around me. So I don't have any problem connecting to Steve's energy all of the time because of the box elder bug. That was the other strangest, because I've observed many box elder bugs, but the night Steve passed away, I had a box elder bug that climbed on me and climbed up on my hand, and it started dancing, and it started doing things, like it was moving its little hands, and it was all animated like it was talking to me. And it would, I mean, some people would squish a box elder bug, and I'm like enamored by this box elder bug, that I'm talking to it like it's Steve, and it is like acting like Steve. This tiny bug is basically acting. I knew this bug was Steve. And I have sense, because we have a lot of box elder bugs around, and I've had a connection to them for quite a while now. And they mean home. I mean, it's kind of interesting when you look up the actual meaning of the box elder bug, they really mean home. And there aren't any box elder bugs that look anything like the one that what the one that did the day that it became Steve, on the day that Steve died. I've never encountered another box elder bug that looks like that or can do that. So also, it was really interesting to me where they seem to be able to animate. And so when you're um, opening yourself up to what spirit may or may not be able to do, between my mother and my dogs, if I can do anything for you when it comes to what grief and death and dying is, it's a change in your form. um, it's a change in your form. Literally, they're all still around you. That's my belief. And also remember, I have a belief that you shouldn't believe anything that I say. You should believe what works for you. So let it roll the way it wants to hit you. It's a very strong flame we've got there. Strong, steady flame burning very. You know what's interesting? These guys are all different colors. This is Sophie. Sophie, I never got to mourn properly. And that was okay. Sophie and my mom, I had a medium do some reading for me, someone who does that for a living and was teaching it at my store, do a reading for me shortly after my mother passed away. And Sophie shows up with mom. My mom passed away on 2/8, and Sophie passed away on 2/16, which is 2/8. And Sophie, I know of all of my dog, had a level of like, she had a level of spiritual ability that the other dogs didn't have. She could watch TV, and she could tell what was on the TV. Her favorite movie was Jurassic Park, and she absolutely loved dogs. So apologies, I have to go. Love the topic, and we'll listen later. I love you. Sorry I missed that, Joe. Jojo, enjoy. Yeah. So Sophie, on the day that mom passed away, I found a pigeon feather. And on the day that Sophie passed away, when Sean had to bring her in. She's similar to some of the things that Cheddar has going on, but at the level of a Great Dane's size. And so when they start to get real loosey goosey in the back, and they start to not be able to, like, they start to, like, Cheddar sometimes falls now, but he's close to the ground. He can still get himself up. She was like falling, and then she was like defecating herself, and not, she was stuck in that, and it just was not a good life for her anymore. And I think Sophie was 9 or 10. I don't remember exactly. I'm not sure we had her exact date. She was who I found and rescued after Morgan was so abruptly hit at 13 years old. That was crazy. It's almost like we were having Friendsgiving on the day that Morgan passed away. And it's almost like she selected it because it was such a random thing. Like she never went out on the road. It was super foggy. Jackie, who coincidentally passed away right before Steve passed away. And there was all kinds of stories around Jackie, who had lived with me for quite a while, and my Danes. And so like it's also intermixed. That's the other things that I think that dogs help you with, is they help you with processing the human level of grief. You know, like you have to go through it with them more often. If you're going to raise dogs, you're going 12 of them for me, 13 by the time my last one passes, unless something happens to me soon, probably. Cheddar he's had doggy dementia for over a year. He doesn't have any bathroom ability. He has diapers, and it's a whole thing. And that teaches you something, man. When you go through that with a dog, when they become something completely different, you start to have a whole nother awareness for when people are dealing with somebody who has dementia. When somebody's dealing with a person that has dementia, dealing with a dog that has dementia helps you learn more about how difficult that is, and to be a little bit kinder to the individuals who might have difficulty with that. When a dog gets dementia, they are no longer the same dog. He doesn't know his name. He doesn't know. It's a totally new relationship, except for at the spiritual level. I'm still his person. But other than that, he's not the same Cheddar that was my guy who helped me through all of the some of the most. He helped me through my mom's death, through Sophie's death, through difficulties in my marriage, through difficulties when my children left, like through, wow, my God, Cheddar has been there through all of it. I don't even want to talk about it when it comes to that. And yet, something with him being my last one and having him go so differently than any of the rest of them has been a whole nother level of walk for me. And yet I understand the lesson and the pattern there. It's almost like every single one of them teaches you something different. I always say, like, Spectre was my coffee drinking dog, and Spectre taught me that I didn't slow down enough for myself in the morning, because I would set my coffee down and I would get distracted, and I wouldn't even take the time to sit down and give myself 10 to 15 minutes in the morning before I was off doing this airy fairy thing that I do, because I'm an air sign. So I'm bouncing around. And he would get into my coffee every time. And I have broken coffee cups that I've kept as a reminder of Spectre and what he taught me about needing to take some time for myself. I'm still not very fucking good at it. I'm still not good at it at all. All right. So what's also interesting is how different their ashes, the color of their ashes is very different. I don't know if I said this already. I always pay to have my actual dog ashes, because I do ritual with ashes. And if I want to, like, someday either have someone make something or make something myself out of the ashes, I want the actual dog's ashes and not someone else's. So it it costs a little bit extra, but there's still a lot of ashes left. There's still a lot of dog ashes. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to come on and oh, it almost won't ring. Also, using a bell is really good for just recognizing the spirits that you're working with. The other things that I had around me today, first of all, this candle will be allowed to go. And it looks like it's just very steady. Sometimes the candle flames can do like really wild things. I've had some crazy stuff happen with some of the candle magic that I did earlier in the year around some of the stuff that was happening around Minnesota. I had like timelines, like I had candle split in half and do crazy stuff. This one's going to be very steady. So for me, it just means they're all here, they're all present, it's steady, their energy is steady with me, just as I feel like it's steady with me. The other thing that I had with me, and I just brought this in, this piece, I just redid the outside, all of the crystal gridding that I do on the outside of my house. So everything for me is energy, and I move the energy usually every season. And so yesterday was a really beautiful day here, so I moved the energies outside, and some of the stones that have been outside for quite a while needed to come back in. And so this is one of them that's been outside for a really long time. This is Specter's stone. This is the stone that I was using to heal Specter. I think this one was Major's. I don't remember. They all, with Sophie, I probably was using Minnie by that time. And then I also was not here for her crossing because my mom crossed. So, yeah, and I also have mom here, some of mom's ashes, which I did ritual with earlier this week when I was in Duluth. And yesterday I found this sitting in the yard. And this is a piece that I had found in Florida that was sitting up here and it just blew over, but I had grabbed that. And I also am working with some morganite and apophyllite and rhodochrosite here. It's a rhodochrosite egg for those of you who are my crystal enthusiasts of the world. These are morganite and rhodochrosite are some of the strongest heart chakra energies. Apophyllite is an angelic connection stone. And then both of the crystals that I had been using to heal the dog are smoky quartzes, because smoky quartz helps pull toxins and negativity. So it makes sense that I would have been using those. And, just like everything, people have a crossing time, and my dogs hit their crossing time. So, and then I also have a piece that a friend had gifted me after Specter passed away that is meant to be a memorial for all the dogs. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's another piece of clay that I keep near the altar, which is on my family's piano, actually, mom's piano that's in my bedroom. And yeah, there's some memorials to lots of different people on that piano. So memorialize your people, memorialize your pets, remember them, love them, connect to them. If you feel like the animal in your yard is the spirit of your dead dog or cat, it is. They'll let you know, and you have to trust. You're an energy body. You remember what something's energy feels like. Specter had an energy that no other animal had. Cheddar has an energy that no other animal has. Merlin has an energy that no other animal has. And I already told you about how special they've all been. Every single one of them, just like every single human in your life, all have different energies. And so when something crosses, that energy is still them. That's my point. And so how you feel your dog, or how you feel your cat, or how you feel your mother, is to feel or allow that energy that you had that came through at that essence of the memory that makes you happy, you know? Sometimes we focus on the memories that make us sad, and that's okay too. But we don't want to stay there, because their energies really can still be connected to, and they can still be connected to for all the positive reasons that they had when they were here on the planet. I mean, yeah, I could connect to Nola and be angry that I have scars, just like I could to connect to my mother and be angry that I have scars. But I choose not to connect to her for those reasons. And I choose not to connect to the animals for that reason either. So that is my, yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I hope this helps you. If you have any questions for me about animal spirit or anything like that, feel free to reach out. I'm here for all of that. If you have any questions about ritual or anything like that, or what crystals might be helpful when you're going on that journey, or candle magic, or whatever's, I'd be happy to answer those questions for you as well. Peace and spiral blessings.